Merwin. I'm a second-year SAHI Student Affairs and Higher Education student at Miami's Oxford campus. And this is our group. I'll let them introduce ourselves and I'll introduce our topic.
I'm Kathy Cerrone. I work primarily in the Math and Staff Department. I also work in Learning Assistance, and I'm in advising this semester, so I'm just trying to get to know everything on campus.
My name is Marcia Smith. I'm the Assistant Director of the Advising Office.
And I'm Amber Loray, Head-on Advisor in the Advising Office.
Okay, our presentation is going to focus on how we can implement the appreciative advising model, which the other group articulated really well. So I'm not going to give you another synopsis of it because I think they did an excellent job. But this is, a pictorial of it. And ours is going to focus on how we can help faculty advisors implement the appreciative advising model into their work. So we've come up with some ideas about how not only to engage them in sort of those foundational concepts such as the Miami plan, reading the DAR, adding, changing majors, because I know that sometimes they need assistance there, but also how to integrate these phases of academic advising into their work. So we have some specific examples of ways we've come up with to better engage with the faculty and get them involved and on board with this process.
All right. In order to have the faculty engaged, it's going to take more than just us and the faculty. And that's one of the most important things. We need support from the dean's office, from the coordinators. And in saying support, we mean encouraging faculty to be excited about this, having this be something that faculty maybe are, something that goes into their professional activities report, something that makes it important for the faculty. So that's an important part going forward, that we have to have support from those areas. We currently have some people on campus who advise as faculty, and for them to be proponents of helping more faculty to get involved in it, have them talk about what's good about it and how they do it, those kinds of things are important. We are trying to get more faculty involved, and that's the focus of what we're doing here. And we had thought that an ideal place to start to talk about this is that opening session that we have in August, where we have the opening day kickoff, frequently have some professional development kind of activity there. If not there, then at that initial Senate meeting in the afternoon. Ideally, all faculty would be at all Senate meetings, and we could pick any Senate meeting to do it. But unfortunately, so that's not always the case. The one Senate meeting where we tend to have good attendance is at that first one. So this is where we would first try to approach the faculty. We put together a little sort of presentation for them, and so I'm going to talk about this as I would to the faculty at that opening Senate meeting. So first of all, I would start by saying that we're here to start to talk about the critical role that faculty play in advising. I know that many faculty members are already advising, and now we're asking faculty to take a larger portion, larger role in that. You may be wondering, why do we want more faculty involved in this? And the reason is that the people who are experts in the field, those of you who faculty members work in these fields, are really the ideal people to work with the students who are interested in those fields. Advising is about so much more than just scheduling classes. It's about having students identify their dreams and start to work toward those dreams, and you who are involved in those fields are best able to do that. Now I can understand, I can hear people saying, well, yeah, I know about my field, but I don't know anything about advising. I don't really know what the Miami plan is. I don't know how to schedule classes. I don't know all those details. And that's what we're talking a little bit about today, how to start to get you involved in that and feel competent with it. In addition to that, as I said, there's more to advising than just scheduling classes. So we're also going to be using an appreciative advising model, helping you to understand how to interact with students to help them get beyond just that aspect there. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm wrong. Of course, it's my next one address. As faculty members, we always feel like there's too much to do. So I know that saying, here's another activity that you're going to have to do so that you can take on more roles, the number one question is probably, how much time is this going to take? I'm already too busy. And the quick answer is that it's not going to take too much at all. The way we anticipate doing this is through a couple of emails each week. So we'll start with next week. Well, then next week you'll start getting you'll get an email on Monday and Wednesday. Each Monday you'll get an email that'll tell you a little bit about some of the details about advising. What is the Miami plan? How do you read a DAR? Issues like that. On Wednesday of each week you'll get a little bit about the appreciative advising. As we mentioned before, there's 6 phases of it. So each week we'll have a little snippet about that, and we'll show you a little more later about what those are. It should take only a minute or so to look through. Some of them are videos, some of them are just an email, just to help you to start to understand what those things are. So not a large commitment in learning this at all. Hopefully that sounded pretty exciting, and you're saying, well, what if I want to know more than I can in those 12 emails? And we will have additional opportunities from that. So after that initial 6 weeks, we'll be partnering with the Center for Teaching and Learning. They'll do an activity where we can start to look a bit more about appreciative advising. And then following that, we'll have another session of 6 weeks of emails looking at hot topics within advising. If you have questions at any time, of course, the advising staff is here to help not only the students with advising, but faculty who are advising. So we're always here for a resource for you. And we hope that you start to understand how rewarding it can be to help students move towards their dreams. That's really what we want you to take away from this.
So as Kathy introduced the email series that we were going to do, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about that email series. As she mentioned, for 6 weeks, the faculty will receive 2 emails a week. The first one will be on topics specific to Miami, specific tools that faculty can put in their toolbox to help students do the logistics. Information about the Global Miami Plan, how to read a DAR, how to look up and register for classes, information about add drops. What does it mean when a student comes to me and they have a hold on their account? Who do I call? Where do I go? So we're just going to work with the faculty to give them a short email. I mean, we don't want to give 3 pages of email where it's really time consuming. We want to give them the facts and give them additional resources. So that's going to be on the Monday. And then on the Wednesday, we're going to have each phase of appreciative advising where we introduce them to that. It's not necessarily a linear model, so if we go back to the previous slide. So when they're talking about the Global Miami Plan, they're not necessarily talking about disarm, but this just kind of all infuses into each topic into one another. So an example of the first email that they'll get for week 1 is about the Global Miami Plan. And this just tells you how students admitted to the Miami Plan, or admitted to Miami in a certain semester might be on the Miami Plan or the traditional Miami Plan, while students who are newer might be on the Global Miami Plan, and of course there's the honors framework as well. There'll be hyperlinks leading faculty so that if they want more information, they can click on those and seek more information themselves. So we'll direct them right to the web page rather than saying, go find it here or come to this seminar or whatever. We'll direct them straight to the information. And additionally, we're going to really spell out why knowing this information is helpful. Knowing this information is helpful so it can help you read the DAR, which will be next week's topic. So it can enhance your ability to assist students. And so it can heighten your awareness of university requirements. So for each week, we really want to point out to the faculty why you should know this information, where it might be helpful. Attached to this email, there will also be a document that gives a 1-page cheat sheet about the Miami Plan. So those of us who don't care for electronic resources but really want that paper can easily open up the document, click it, put it in a folder, organize it however you want. And that document is in this packet, which we'll hand out at the end, and it's also been sent to all of your emails at 10:05 a.m. So that's in your email if you have a smartphone or whatever you want to look at it. So that's email number 1. Sent on the Monday of the week. And the next email is email number 2. Again, we're keeping these emails short and sweet so that faculty can get to the point and they can learn that information. So week 1, part 2, the faculty advising seminar, talks about the disarm phase. So there's going to be a hyperlink to a video clip and a survey. So we can watch the video clip, which tells about the disarm phase, which is what we'll do now. Excuse our technical difficulties.
I was not in there.
afternoon. Basically, it's a scene where a student comes into the advisor's office and says, hey, I have an appointment, and the advisor's answering the phone and doing their emails and saying, yeah, just wait a minute. Okay, what do you need? What do you mean you didn't look over the contents of your folder? What do you mean you don't know what you want to major in? You know, and they just seem kind of bothered. Sadly, this might be the case for some of our students. Maybe it's not what we're trying to portray, but some students might feel like they're bothering faculty or that they're bothering whichever advisor they're seeing when they come to their office. So that's phase one, disarm, what not to do. And there's just a little, I don't know, 10-second clip about that. Then the student re-enters the office, and the video shows disarm, what to do. It shows that the advisor stands up, shakes their hand, says, glad to meet you, I was looking forward to our appointment, introduces themselves, and makes them feel welcome, and talks about how they're going to co-create the plan. How it's not just the advisor saying, oh, take these classes and you'll be fine, but rather, what questions do you have, and let's figure this out together. So really making the student feel comfortable. At the end, it talks about the 4 key phases in the disarm phase in that video. And so each video will give an example what not to do, what to do, and then a little bit of information. This video is 3 minutes total. 3 minutes of your day, doesn't take too long, it's less than a lunch hour, you can watch it while working on an email or doing something else. And so we feel that it's very feasible for faculty to watch this. And then after they watch the video and read the email and read all the information for the week, they will automatically be sent a survey. We thought that we could attach it actually to the email, so they just click on the link, and this survey asks for information. We're just making sure that they understand the general information that was sent that week. So the first couple questions are about the Miami plan, since that was the topic that we covered this week. The next set of questions is about disarm phase, since that was the second part of the email. And then the third part, we ask for their feedback. What other information do you want to know? What is helpful? This will help us to craft and adjust the seminar according to the needs of the faculty and give us some feedback so that we can adjust accordingly and give them what they need so that we can meet the faculty where they're at.
And each week the survey will change, so like she mentioned, the first 2 are going over the Miami plan, which was mentioned in email 1. The second 2 are going over our appreciative advising, and then the last 3 are really focused on their feedback, and also we can figure out how we can change things and make it more beneficial by asking them what they've learned and gotten out of it. The responses are going to be automatically generated through Advisor Track. So we'll be using a resource that we already have instead of having to invest in one as well.
Okay, and after we do all that, our hope is to be able to partner with the Center for Teaching and Learning, where we invite faculty to actually come and have a lunch with us, and there will be a Q&A session, as well as getting feedback in person, because we know people aren't always, they get survey fatigue and all of that, so this will be a chance to meet in person and have those discussions. We would also hope that the faculty are able to come together with other members of their faculty and design sort of major specific academic checklists. You know, we have the new student checklist. We were hoping that the different major advisors could come up with something that pertains to them. We would also give them some instructions on how to use Advisor Track more effectively, because I know for some of them technology it might be confusing, or maybe they just have questions. So demonstrating how to do that. And in addition to the free lunch, the free gift would be, I think we envision sort of a keychain Rolodex of important resources on campus, people they could call if they run into trouble, records registration, as well as maybe some buzzword things like that. And at the end, we would give an introduction to the next 6 weeks. This is the don't settle part of what we envisioned, because we think that we could do more than just kind of teach them about these phases, and then go through and have hot topics every week where they could, you know, engage with each other, maybe very short case studies in which they think about and respond to different situations in terms of what they've learned. And I think another piece that we could talk about here that we sort of have mentioned is getting that faculty buy-in is the critical step. And I think we had spoken a lot about how some faculty members seeking tenure, or those who want to enhance the service component of their job, this could be something they could put on that resume, or, you know, count towards their service requirement instead of just the typical committees and things like that. So this could really be good at enhancing the resume, as well as making their focus on students more intentional. So And that's the end of our presentation. So if you guys have any questions, we'd love to take them. And like Marcia said, we have these packets, and those are also sent to you electronically.
We have a couple we can pass around.
Yep.
as well.
Any questions?
Can I add one thing? As a faculty, you know, we don't choose this profession to be rich and wealthy and, you know, vacation in Cayman Island every 3 months. That may actually add more to the feeling of, hey, I am helping someone to build something, and so it's
That
make it-
connection with an individual
make
student
it
and helping them.
stronger.
Yeah, get closer. Especially, I think, if you're working with students who are interested in the field that you're interested in, then I think that's a great place for those connections.
Did you actually contact the Center for the CTL, and are they on board with this, or is this part of the,
They
part
want to
of
be,
the?
they don't know
Okay.
yet.
Because I was gonna say, I think that is perfect,
Well,
like,
and they are,
if they're on board with this, I think it would fly.
well, and this
Not a problem.
semester we've started having them do more on campus. We haven't had too much. So there's been a couple of, this semester already, we had Emily Williams do a talk sponsored by them. And so they have done a few things this semester, and I think that would be a good place for it.
Any minute, there's going to be an announcement about interim co-chairs of the CTL, and those would be people you want to get in touch with immediately. And I think the CTL is definitely looking for, you know, ways to create partnerships and get things moving on this campus. So I think that would be great. Oh, go ahead.
Part of the faculty concerns committee, which I'm a member, we mentioned this advising piece there, and we can, which we were planning to do some workshops, maybe that might be a part of
Yeah.
those workshops too.
Did you have something?
Yeah, I had a couple things. For one thing, my one concern is that this seems very much targeted toward faculty who are brand new to advising. And lots of faculty have quite a bit of advising experience. Now, I'm not saying they're perfect at it necessarily or understand what appreciative advising is, but I think that you'll have to think about how you pitch this, because there are new faculty who really don't have the experience, period, and who need the ground up. And there are others who have done a lot of this over time, and that for whom this is not sort of a new thing. So
And I
I'm trying to think about how you balance that, because going over the Global Miami Plan with somebody like me, I mean, I guess I could look at it again, but I know this really well, and I'm not alone.
And I think that's one of the beauties of doing it in an email.
Yeah, right. I
If,
could
you know, if we
just-
say everyone has to come and spend the day and
Yeah.
get trained, then, you know, people who know this are irritated wasting their time. But if you're someone who already knows these things, you look at the email, yep, that's a topic I know, I don't need to spend more time on it. And I think probably most faculty members could use this idea of appreciative advising.
Sure, I think that's true.
So, you know, since it is coming to them at a time, you know, where they can look at it whenever they want for as long as they want, I think that lets them sort of tailor how much they need.
It's
And
like
the survey-
self-selected training in a sense.
Right.
Exactly. And the survey will give us an opportunity to hear the faculty's voice, so those who are more seasoned who say, I know this stuff, but I really want to know this, it will allow us to either connect with that person individually to work on that accelerated topic, or to put that as a hot topics topic
Right.
for the next 6 weeks.
And the first email will be an overview. We'll have the Miami Plan attached, so if they felt they knew it well, they could just not open the attachment.
And- Oh, and then are you imagining relying on faculty volunteers? So are faculty, because I'm imagining, I'm just coming up with a scenario, no one in the social sciences volunteers. And, you know, their coordinator might encourage it, but there's not a lot of teeth they have to force them to do this, because there are a lot of service projects people can do. I would think advising is an expectation, at least some level of advising, an expectation of our job, but others might argue differently. So I'm just wondering how this will work, because you might get floods of volunteers in some areas and more than you need. Other areas you might get no one, and I guess that's my concern.
I suspect, so we may have to change this as we go. And my staff needs a promise they're not going to laugh at me, but we are probably a week or 2 weeks away, and I've been saying that for almost 2 months now, but we're still saying it. Being able to assign students to faculty advisors and to give a list of students to faculty of who their advisees are. I am maybe naively hopeful, but as students start showing up on their doorsteps, we're not gonna have to sell this. They're gonna say, oh, I need to know resources and I need to know what to tell these students because they're now coming. We're hoping that the students coming to them are gonna drive this process.
So students are gonna be coming to every faculty member,
The
whether they
ones that,
signed up for it or not.
well, the quick answer would be no.
Okay.
But there's no sign up in the sense that when we've had these conversations with Rob and others, advising is part of teaching.
It is.
So it is, and that's in MUPM, that's
That's in our
Miami law.
annual activities
Right.
report. Advising is under teaching, not
Right.
under service
That's
as
right.
well. Which
So
is
in a sense, that it's not a volunteer issue, everybody's expected to do that. Now within that, we have talked with the coordinators already, and we're not anticipating, nor do we want to, if we have a brand new tenure track hire, we need to get their feet on the ground with the teaching part of this first. So there is a sheet, actually it was emailed to all of the students last week, I think, that lists the chief departmental advisor for their major on this campus. So Susan Spellman for history, for example, Sandy Jewis for education. There's probably 100 people on that list. So those would be really the first focus and contacts. And they are the folks that have been doing this, that have the experience. So they're the ones that we're really kind of reminding them already of what they know and giving them additional resources on how to do quicker what they're already doing.
The last thing I just wanted to say is when you met, Kathy, when you said that, how much time, not too much time, that's going to be awfully vague for faculty. And for some faculty, they are going to want to know, are you telling me 2 hours a week of advising? I'm not talking about the
Yes.
time for the training,
Right, we're just
but
talking
the
about
actual
training.
advising. So they're going to want something a little more concrete.
Right.
And that's going to
Otherwise,
be
some
different
people
for
will
everyone,
run.
depending on how many majors they have.
Yeah.
I know, and that's what's tough. And
Well-
some people will say, well, that's not fair if Whitney only has to advise 5 and I'm supposed to
What do you think
advise
would work,
20.
Whitney?
And
What do you
I'm
think?
not sure. This is the
No,
problem.
and
I don't have a
that's-
great answer for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But I think there does need to be some sort of, at least ballpark estimates. At registration time, you can expect, X number of hours or appointments or something. It falls in these weeks when you'll be busy. So,
Is there,
just so they can kind of plan their schedules around this.
is there,
There comes the coordinators. English is the best one because almost everybody in English, I'm gonna say department here, advises
Yeah,
students.
we know how to
divide
do
the
it.
students. But in social science, we don't have that
Mm-hmm.
divided
Expertise.
expertise. So then we can ask coordinators to warn your faculty.
Mm-hmm.
Students are going to be coming to you, and before they come, you have to be prepared. So
is
Now-
there any possibility of a reduction in teaching load for people who have a large number of students? If I'm advising 40 students, then maybe I do need a little less teaching time or.
I cannot speak for our
Yeah.
associate dean, but I would say that's unlikely.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the problem is that some people are going to say, this is way too big a burden for me, compared to others for whom there are just not that many majors. It's not like we have an equal distribution
Yeah,
across
it's not-
every major to make it nice and easy.
And there is an assumption we're making here that doesn't hold though. We are not talking about one-on-one advising for each group. And that's part of, I think, what this group would be to faculty would be to offer alternatives to doing that. So a good example would be what we do with education or K&H. We have a group meeting every semester, 30 or 40 people come to that. So, we're really talking about 1 or 2 hours of Rick Wetzel's time or others.
Right.
And they can do that in a group setting and still accomplish the same things that somebody who's meeting with 5 individual students. So part of this is getting resources to faculty that this doesn't mean 50 appointments with students. It could be an open house to sell your major once a semester, and you can pull in colleagues. And so I envision this with some structure of, here are some ways to reach out to students. It could be electronically, it could be a mass email to all your advisees, it could be open houses, it could be a variety of things. So within that context, I think we can, in some situations, level the playing field.
What's the expectation about advising for casual faculty, for somebody who, teaches 2 sections of.
There's no expectations in their
Okay.
job description.
All right.
Just to be honest, I'm sure many of them do it out of the goodness of their hearts, but it's not part
So
of their
we're
contract.
talking about tenure track, and we're talking about visiting faculty who are here for a 5-year stint.
We could be, I think with visiting, it's once again more of a voluntary basis. It's not part of their contracts. I mean, most of them, of course, want to get full-time jobs somewhere, and advising is certainly a very good thing to be able to demonstrate expertise.
Because I was
in.
curious who the emails would go to. Would they go to
Well, and
all faculty or?
Yeah, we had
what?
discussed that, and we kind of thought the faculty listserv, because even those part-time folks who are doing it out of the goodness of their heart, if they're going to be sharing this information, we'd rather have them share accurate information. And it might be interesting to get their feedback and say, hey, I'm part-time and I want this to be part of my position, or who knows what might evolve from that, so.
We're really talking about a cultural shift for us. I mean, we already do advising, and the faculty are very engaged, but we're not real purposeful, and that's the shift that needs to happen. We're not going to get everybody.
Yeah.
We're going to get the and actually, I don't want everybody. We're going to get the folks that are
That's a good
interested
point.
in this.
That's why I was asking about the volunteers and not sending to people who don't want to do it. And some people might go through this and you might get feedback from students, they're not very good at this. I mean, just because you're, even if you're an excellent teacher, you might not be an excellent advisor. So I was also just wondering if there were sort of provisions that you had for thinking about that, the person who doesn't end up maybe working out so well.
The direction that our office is going is right now we are advising about 800 juniors and another 800 seniors.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be happening. Even if we can cut that in half, that gives me the equivalent of almost another full-time position and time-wise that we can spend on undecided students on probation. So even if we can get a few of those folks moved over to the faculty advisors who are engaged in this process, that's a win-win. I suspect as that builds, Middletown is much further along on this because they've been doing it for years and years, and they have a culture. But that didn't happen overnight. So I suspect, you go after the folks that are already doing it right now to help support them and make it easier. They will slowly bring additional colleagues on board as we hire. Those folks will just be a part of this culture. It's a gradual process. We got to start someplace.
Yep.
And if someone like you and Sandy can share your stories about how rewarding
true.
it is for you to your colleagues, they're going to buy in more. To me, I would think, instead of us talking at them about advising, if you share the real value that it brings to you, I think that's where the conversion might happen.
And getting questions connected to their annual reports. I've already talked with Rob about having a specific question about they can leave it blank if they want, but a prompt. How many advisees did you have this year? What did you do with them? Getting this to be elevated in a consciousness of these are things that should be included on your report if you're doing them.
I think in the contracts there is a sentence, occasionally you may need to advise students, because when I was in Oxford campus, I spent a year there in business school, everybody had students, except the visiting, I volunteered there to advise. Those full tenure track, they knew I have 20 students coming this semester, I need to advise them. Their major is economics.
And it's the same thing in English in Oxford, but not everybody does it, or does it well. That's sort of the difference, is that technically, they
Maybe
get
that's why
20
we need
or
to,
whatever the number is.
that's why we need to pull
train
them
them.
into advisory, appreciative advising.
Good job, Ruth.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.